Welcome to another SACNAS webinar. My name is Katerina, and today we will be discussing how to write a successful abstract that could be accepted for the National SACNAS Conference. Let me introduce our guest. We have 4 SACNAS reviewers. They are the ones who review and grade your application. They will be sharing their expertise and advice with you all on the questions that have come up over the years. We have Mario Banuelos, assistant professor in applied mathematics. He is also a member of student presentation subcommittee. Gina Moreno is director of neuroscience and behavior program. Seda Arad is a senior computational toxicologist in drug safety R&D. And Nana Alkrach is a postdoctoral researcher associate. Before we get started, I wanted to share the benefits of presenting your research at the SACNAS conference. First, we celebrate culture and science equally. The SACNAS conference is unlike any other scientific conferences because culture and identity are an integral part of everything we do at SACNAS. Throughout the conference, we celebrate our diverse cultures and encourage you as an attendee to represent who you are as a scientist and as a person. We also create a space for mentorship and community. We know that mentorship and supportive relationships are critical to continue your education in STEM. That's why at SACNAS, student presenters receive one-on-one interaction and feedback from a mentor judge. Another thing that I would like to highlight is an opportunity to network at the national setting. You are surrounded by people who want to engage and learn about you. They have been where you are, and now they want to help you to get to the next level. So, okay, hopefully now you're all eager to apply and to present at SACNAS. So let's go back to our guest and talk about what you need to submit a strong application. So my first question is, Nana, could you share what are the main components of an abstract?
Okay, so I would say you would need 4 main components to have a good abstract. The first component would be a short introductory paragraph that gives some background information about the work that you're going to present. And this should be drafted so that it's general and people from different fields can read it and immediately understand what you're going to talk about. The second component would be a method section where you describe how the research was performed and the types of tools that you use to address your research question. Your third component will be a results section. And this, in my opinion, is the main part of your abstract. And this is where you describe the main findings of your research study and what you have learned from performing this research. And then your fourth and final component will be a conclusion or sort of a discussion. And this is what ties up everything that you've mentioned in the 3 components before. And you kind of summarize the work performed. You tell the reader the relevance of your work and how it advances your field and the broad scientific field in general. These, I would say, are the 4 main components you absolutely must have in your abstract to make it a successful one.
Thank you. Gina, could you tell us what makes one abstract stand out from others?
Sure. So for me, I think what really makes an abstract stand out from others is when it's communicating effectively the research of that particular student, right? And so the way that we do that is by being very clear and concise in our writing. So as researchers, that's one of our main skills that we have to develop, is being able to communicate our research effectively with others. And so I think we can do that by the way in which we really use our abstract to showcase that skill. So when most folks are reading through an abstract, they're doing it quickly and they're looking for keywords, right? These are words like aims and results. And so we want to make sure that when we're explaining those parts that we are explicitly stating that information and trying to do it in a way that's very clear and to the point. And you also want to make sure that the organization and the flow of your abstract is done well. So you have to keep in mind that, especially for SACNAS that a lot of times the folks that are reading your abstracts aren't necessarily experts in that field, but you want to be able to get across kind of the main points of your project in your abstract. And so a lot of us as researchers have been trained to read abstracts and papers in a particular way, right? So we're looking for aims and hypotheses and results. And so you want to make sure that all of those points stand out clearly in your abstract. And we stick to that kind of traditional order that we use. Additionally, when it comes to organization and flow, a good way that you can ensure that you have that is making sure that each of your sentences has really one specific goal or purpose. So that's what I encourage my students to do. That's what I appreciate when I'm reading other abstracts. I think that really helps. And also working on your transitioning between each of those sentences, right? So making sure that there's good flow between each and every sentence. And then again, just emphasizing that for SACNAS, we're such a multidisciplinary organization that we want to make sure that when we're writing our abstracts, that we're writing it for a broader audience. And so we're staying away from using abbreviations, or if we are using abbreviations or acronyms, that we're explicitly explaining what they mean.
Thank you so much. Mario, what should an applicant absolutely not overlook when writing their abstract?
So there are a variety of parts that you shouldn't overlook when writing, and I'll mention some of the most important. So first, and sometimes it's an overlooked part of writing an abstract, is to see if it has been proofread. So make sure you receive feedback from others. So your supervisor and advisor are going to provide some valuable suggestions, but also ask other professors, perhaps from different disciplines, just to reiterate the point that was made earlier. They're not necessarily in the same research area as you. The other thing is make sure you reread the guidelines for the abstract and adhere to any formatting or word count. You don't want your abstract to be rejected for some of these reasons as well. Third, do not include bibliographic references or footnotes. The abstract should be about you and your work and trying to convey a potentially large body of work in a paragraph or two. And then the last thing is try to avoid the overuse of technical words or jargon. You do not know who's going to be reading your abstract, and although you and your advisor may be very familiar with the work, you don't want it to be so detailed that you lose the readers who may be less familiar with your research. So these are just some of the parts that applicants should not overlook when writing their abstract.
Thank you. Nana, if the results of a student's research have not been obtained yet, what can students do to submit an abstract that will still meet SACNAS requirements?
Okay, so the key to this question is to have anticipated results. So what do you expect your results to look like? So although you actually haven't gotten the results yet, you can put some statements in your abstract to indicate what types of results you would expect to see and what you would probably do next if your anticipated results deviates from what you expected. So the key here is anticipated results, anticipated results, anticipated results. So include that and make an emphasis on that and how you would address and handle these results if they're true or if they go against your hypotheses. So this is what I think should be included if you do not have your results in place.
Great, thank you. And we have one more question left. Said, in your opinion, what do reviewers pay attention to the most when scoring an abstract?
My peers already covered a lot of angles of abstract review, so I will briefly summarize what we talk about and a few key things that we think it's crucial. Again, if the abstract is easy to understand, easy to follow, well organized, and proofread, it's definitely attract the attention, and then the reviewer is like, oh, okay, it's a very interesting research. It would be nice to hear more about in the conference. So to be able to do that, to achieve that, I think it's important to write the abstract in a more layman terms. So anyone with any background can really understand what your research is about. And for this proofreading, also having some feedbacks from your peers and also different departments, maybe your friends, and see if it's really understandable. And the second, you can really talk about providing the big picture really in the first sentences and then funnel down, like, okay, this is the main problem, how we can solve it, what's your approach, step by step, mentioning about your methods and results if you have some, or anticipated results as Nana mentioned earlier. But then at the end, what's the conclusion? What's the impact of your research? If it's a novel finding or not, I think it would be really helping for the reviewers to understand the importance of your research, and if it's really important to share with other SACNAS attendees. Yes. Oh, one more thing. Sorry. I think for SACNAS, the main theme of our conferences are diversity, but also we have some other topics for every year determined. So definitely paying attention to what that specific year's focus in that annual meeting, so it can really helping for you to have a successful abstract.
Thank you. Are there anyone has anything to add to what Seda said, or anyone else? Good. Thank you to all of you. Thank you for reviewing the student applications year after year. We rely on you. Thank you for volunteering your time and your expertise and providing that mentorship and feedback to students. And of course, thank you, students who are interested in submitting an application this year and to present at the SACNAS conference. We hope this webinar provided you some tips and clarity for what reviewers are looking in your application. Good luck to you all, and remember not to wait until the last moment to submit your application.